today let's make kids healthy meal, tofu asparagus stir fry with sesame seeds. So I have washed asparagus with water. They are clean, and the end part of the asparagus is thick and a little bit chewy, so we are going to separate this out. And the easy way to separate is just bend the asparagus, and the part where the chewy and the thick part starts, it will break at that point. So this way you can separate out the thick part, and the thick part is edible, but it's not just kids friendly, so you can use it for vegetable stock or for just stir fry for adults. Now the asparagus which I have are tender ones, but if they're a little bit thick, then there is a plastic like little bit petals, few petals, 1, 2 or 3 on each one, that we have to remove. They are also not kids friendly, so remove those. And now it's time to chop them. So if your kids are eating asparagus for the first time, then I would suggest make very fine pieces so they don't feel the asparagus. So once they get used to it, just increase the size, so that way they can just pick up the asparagus and eat. So when you're cutting it into very fine pieces, you're making them used to the asparagus taste. So it's ready, and I've taken a pan, keep it on low heat, and I'm going to add some 1 teaspoon of olive oil. Sesame oil and peanut oil also goes well with this recipe. So spread the oil on the pan and add chopped asparagus. Asparagus are very nutritious, they are healthy, loaded with folate. Folate is very good for brain development. It's very good for even pregnant women and also for children. So give it a quick stir, and now I'm going to add tofu, which is already rinsed and the water is drained off. So tofu is a good source of protein and calcium. So now it's time to add spices. I'm adding half teaspoon of coriander seed powder, half teaspoon of cumin seed powder, and half teaspoon of fennel seed powder. And for this spicy taste, I am adding a red chili powder a little bit. My child is not yet ready for very spicy food, but the spices which go well with this recipe is garlic and black pepper and ginger. So you can try out with those spices also. Add some turmeric also, and some salt to taste. So red chili powder I'm adding a little bit, so depending on your taste you can adjust the spiciness of this recipe. So I'm adding the spices when there is a moisture there, so the spices won't get burnt. So there is a moisture in this pan, so just give it a quick stir so that all spices get mixed up very nicely. And now I'm going to add sesame seeds. Sesame seeds are also a good source of calcium, and they will give a nice texture to this recipe. So now I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of water. Add very little water because this won't take much time to cook, so add very little water and cover it and cook it on a medium heat for about 5 to 7 minutes. You don't want to overcook it, because if asparagus is overcooked, then it turns like grayish color, and it doesn't really taste that good. The freshness is lost. So we're just going to cook it only for 5 to 7 minutes, or until all the water evaporates. And now all the water is gone. So I'm going to tell you a trick how to check if asparagus is cooked. Just take one of the asparagus piece and press it with the spatula on the pan. If it presses very easily, that means it's cooked. so we don't need to cook it any further. So it just cooked perfectly. So tofu asparagus stir fry is ready to be served. You can serve this with rice, bread, or roti.